Hey guys, it's Lili Joel and I'm back for the Faction and Kill Your Stereo. Today, talking to someone I'm really excited to be joined with. It's been 10 years since Dear God was released, and to celebrate this absolutely iconic album, Being as an Ocean are returning to Australian shores to perform the album in full. To get you all pumped up for it, I'm honored to be chatting with vocalist Joel today. How are you, Joel?
I'm well, thank you, Lily.
It's so exciting to have you here. This album, Dear God, really means so much to so many fans. Everyone I've spoken to since this tour was announced has had such an emotional response. They have such an emotional connection to these songs. Of course, you've had a number of albums since then, but what does this album mean to you?
Definitely kind of like a stepping out into real life. We wrote the album and recorded it when we were 18, 19 years old. And it really kind of encapsulated a certain time of our lives. It was an incredible experience in and of itself, to do something like that with the people that we did at the time. At the beginning of Being as an Ocean was all best friends, all very tight. Myself, Tyler, our guitarist, Ralph, our bassist, Shad, our drummer, and Jacob, our rhythm guitarist. Jacob in particular is my best friend. Will be the kind of guys who are, shooting the shit on the porch with coffees when we're old and gray.
I love it.
Yeah, we've known each other our entire lives, and so to be able to have that experience and make that album with those people was, kind of like stepping into our own as, adults.
Yeah, of course.
And we just had so much fun, and I'm personally feeling so honored and blessed in this its 10-year to have been a part of that and to see how it's affected people. It's really cool and special to me.
I think it's really special to a lot of fans as well. And thinking back to personally where I was at 10 years ago,
Sure.
And a lot of these albums and anniversary tours are really like becoming such a thing. And I love it because it feels like a beautiful step back to where you were then as well. Not that I'd like to be, 18 again, but you've been able to play some anniversary shows already across the US at the start of the year. How were these shows, and how did it feel to start the celebrations for this record?
They were awesome. Honestly, they felt like they were some of our most special shows I think we've ever played as a band. And they really kind of invigorated Michael and I in a new way, because it must be interesting for Michael because he wasn't in the band when we wrote Dear God.
Right.
So
Okay,
he's had to learn all of the stuff that we hadn't already played, of course, but he was definitely pleasantly surprised and very honored to be a part of the 10-year. And oddly enough, when Michael and I had first met and toured together, his band, the Elijah, was doing their like farewell tour. They were trying to book a tour, and we were trying to book a UK European tour, and it just so worked out that we got into contact. Tyler, our old guitarist, had reached out to the Elijah and had said, like, you guys are trying to do a tour, we're trying to do a tour, we love your band. And I don't even know if Michael he's answered this question before, but I can't recall if he had even heard of us. But
Yep.
when we asked, he checked us out. He was like, "Oh yeah, this is something I really vibe with and connect with." So it must be interesting for him to kind of be a part of these 10-year tours, uh, and see the reaction from everyone.
Yeah.
Me personally, it's uh, hugely inspirational, and it's humbling, and like I said, it's just reinvigorating because coming off of 2 years of pandemic and
Yep.
uh, just uh, going through so much in those 2 years. Um, you know, all the quarantining, um, having a livelihood kind of just like pulled out from under me, getting married. Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you. Um, starting our family and having like it felt oddly enough like waking from a dream and
Yeah.
being thrown back into like um real life. Um, Still plenty of amazing, incredible things happened throughout, but I remember that first year being particularly hard for myself, being depressed, and um, I think 3 to 4 months into the first quarantine in like the very beginning of the pandemic was just, God bless my wife for like being there with me, um, because I was not good,
Yeah.
not good. Um, I was being short and angry with people I love, and frustrated in 100 different ways. Um, and then kind of like getting down on myself, uh, in, in any way I could possibly find to.
Yeah.
And it was just a huge thing to finally get back out and step foot on stage again. And it was so heavy that even the first show we played back was in Los Angeles,
Yep.
and this was after a couple of weeks of practices, rehearsals, production days. Just like we had played the set over and over and over and over, and on top of that, playing songs that I had sang hundreds of times
Yeah.
over these 10 years, and then I forgot the words at in the very first song, very first show back. I didn't forget the words. I started singing This Loneliness when Nothing Save the Power They're Given kicked on. And in my head, I was just, again, just kind of very frustrated with myself, like
Yeah.
beating myself up um, in all of, 15 seconds, just screaming at myself inside. But I made the decision to kind of like stop it. I looked at our drummer and told him to cut it, just like stop everything. And we did a hard stop, and I had a moment of honesty with the crowd that I felt I needed to have. I kind of just like opened myself up and told them what I was going through, what I was feeling. I was like saying how I was doing exactly what I felt I had always been made to do. I still feel that way. I'm a performer and a musician, and to start off the first show back in that way wasn't it wasn't right for them. It wasn't
Yeah.
right for me, and they deserve more than that. I deserve more than that. And I was just very honest that I was extremely nervous,
Of
and
course.
I'm not one to get nervous like that. For whatever reason, it was just all so heavy in that moment. And I like, I held out my hand to the crowd and I was like, just like, take a look at my hand. I'm fucking shaking right now. Like all I want to do is put on the best show for you guys. And all I want to do is be honest. So we're going to start that again. And so we started over. And from that point on, throughout the entire rest of the tour, not a mistake from me.
Oh,
And it really was like, I think it was just like a make or break moment
yeah.
to, choose to be honest, not only for myself, but to the people there who like deserve honesty from people they see perform. Like, and I didn't want to, I didn't want to set the tour off on the wrong foot. And
Of
it
course.
kind of just like, at least personally for me, set the standard of how the shows were to go.
I love that. Firstly, thank you so much for sharing that. Both now
Yeah,
and at that time, I think it's as someone who goes to a lot of live music and that's 4 out of 7 nights a week for me. Like I think honesty is always the best thing to do. And
sure.
it would have been such a humble moment for both yourself. Well, I mean yourself, the band, and the crowd.
Yeah,
And I commend you for that. And I love that you're like, you didn't want that to be the tone. So like, hang on, let's just all have a moment together. Let's just all get on the same page. You're all here because you're so emotionally connected to this record. Obviously,
right.
you as the writer and performer are so emotionally connected to this record. Let's just
Yeah,
all like take a breath, go again, and then maybe it was just you needed to get that hiccup out of the way so that
yeah,
everything else could just be so perfect for the rest of the run. I think that's as much as I wouldn't have ever wanted or wished for that to happen for you, I think it
sure.
probably was a little bit necessary.
Yeah,
Let's just have that hiccup and then everything else will be perfect. Oh,
I agree.
what an emotional moment.
Yeah, it was.
And I mean, uh, to perform that album must have been, I mean, you've already started, but there's so many more shows coming, and must have been such a weird feeling to kind of transport yourself back when you were talking before about everything you've been through throughout the pandemic, and it's been so challenging on so many people.
Yeah.
You go, okay, well, here's where I'm at mentally, physically, as where I'm at in my life and everything that's happening. Let's like just pick myself up and put myself back into where I was when I wrote these songs and released these songs at 18, like the juxtaposition between like your growth, but also sort of going back in time almost. It must be a bit of a whirlwind. Do you feel like you have extra emotions you'd have to deal with again from when you wrote that or deal with from being who you are now to performing 10-year-old songs, I guess?
Um, I would say that there are definitely moments that become emotional, but in different ways.
Yeah.
Um, there are things that I was feeling at the time that I, that are in no way near as heavy feeling to me now. I mean, I've had 10
Mhm.
years to grow and heal from things, and but obviously there are recurring themes throughout the album. Um, dealing with depression, dealing with self-doubt, dealing with you know, just like finding place in the world, understanding purpose, and those are all still very relevant to me, in different
Different
ways
ways.
in life. Um, at the time I wrote the album, I think it was more about like what does it mean for Joel Cortuccio to become and be a man, um, as an 18-year-old,
Mm.
and then I can look at it now as a 30-year-old and say like, what does it mean for Joel Cortuccio to be a good man, a good husband, a good son, brother, family member, friend, um, and how do I balance all of that while still being true to myself and like doing what I love, and you know just being there for the people that mean everything to me. Um, and I think that's where I connected to the album again, was being able to kind of hear those words almost as like listening to someone else,
Yeah.
and say like and just be able to see where they're connecting with me now, uh and have that kind of like full circle moment.
How beautiful. I mean, we're very excited to see this. Like, I watched with jealousy as it was all happening over in the US, and now it's coming to
Yeah,
Australia. We haven't seen you on our shores for quite some time. Like, thank you, pandemic and border closures.
I
To be honest,
know.
this is one of the first international tours coming to Australia. So we're very much looking forward, just speaking on behalf of the whole country here, we're very much looking forward to opening you back with open arms. How does it feel for you to return to Australia, and what does Australia like mean to you and your band?
I'm excited. I have had like some really awesome times in Australia. Some
We're pretty
very
passionate.
sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I picked that up. You guys are incredible crowds to play to. I got a lot of passion and a lot of excitement out of you guys the last time we were there, and so I'm just looking forward to that, and just like looking forward to being um and for Europe before we get to you guys. We're
Yeah,
playing Europe in June, and to kind of be back internationally and uh you playing for everyone is just going to be another moment of like, oh man.
I missed this.
And I missed this, and how could I ever have taken anything? And I'm not one to take things for granted normally, but there were moments on this last US tour where I was like, there were fucking days where I took some stuff for granted, 110%, thinking in my head like, oh, like, or being feeling guilty now for ever once feeling bored,
Yeah,
ever once just like uh wishing to be somewhere else, which I'm sure many people who travel for a living or perform for a living have felt pre-pandemic. And I think
of course.
a lot of people um who had felt that way can understand what I'm talking about, in that like if, feeling like an idiot forever even being bored or wishing I was somewhere else. It's just
Yeah.
like it's so importantly special to be able to share your art, and like to travel the world and see everything is like getting thrown back into home life after having been on the road for 8 years pre-pandemic. um was another shell shock moment for me.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
know I was like, I have to go out and interview for a job. It's just like I have to.
I have a job and I'm really good at it. Like,
Exactly, I can't do it. So it's just like finding a beautiful place to work, and loving the people there, and um growing as a person, and um growing myself in different areas of my life, and being able to like refocus all of that, and then to take that and bring it back out on the road was um super special feeling, and feeling as if I had grown into myself fully when not on the road. um Being married did a lot of that, and then having to have the wherewithal to uh, you know like I said, start a job, a
yeah,
career outside of music, while still doing music the whole time, um, to fill in the gaps, pay the bills where music couldn't anymore. And um, to be able to remember how to, be successful outside of
Yeah.
music, and be successful just as like a person interacting with the people in my hometown, um, definitely helped round me out and set me on a more future forward mindset, and a healthier mindset in place in my life. So yeah, just being back out, going back out internationally, sharing all of the pent up energy and aggression and like
Like
things like that
therapy.
with, yeah, exactly, having it be therapy again, and instead of just performing again, um because there's definitely both.
Yeah.
And I had done a lot of performing pre-pandemic, and that's not to say I wasn't honest in my performance, but I didn't feel as if I needed to therapize on stage.
Okay.
I didn't need the outlet emotionally. Now it's like there is again this desperation to kind of like share of myself emotionally on stage, and that's refreshing again. Um, so I'm excited to share that with Australia for sure.
Well, I'm glad that we get to have a little piece of it.
Yeah,
Last question. You're taking Stepson and Bloom out on the road. Both bands are so explosive in their live performance and have such
sure.
followings in Australia. Honestly, when the tour was announced, I think everyone's response was just, that's huge.
Sweet.
How much are you looking forward to heading out on the road with these guys?
I'm very looking forward to it. We had interacted only once before with Stepson,
Oh,
and they
Stepson.
they probably they're great, and they'll probably remember this. I was going to share it with them, and kind of reminisce
Yep.
when we got there, but I'm sure they'll hear some whisper of it. But the first time we played with them, they opened for us, and I believe it was in 2018, and they were opening the show, and I was thanking them while we were playing, and I accidentally called them stepbrother, and I just heard them laughing in the back of the room, and then someone in the front was like, "It's a stepson, stepson," and so I just like I just had to own it, and I was like, "I'm so sorry, stepson," uh, but they loved it. They came up to me afterwards and were just dying laughing, and I'm glad they were able to be good sports about it because I felt terrible.
Oh, they're the
But
chillest guys. They would like. I wouldn't be surprised if they came out on this tour with stepbrother merch or something like.
that is a move. That's funny. Um, yeah, the yeah, to be able to have them out on tour and see how they've grown, because it's been
Yeah,
years since I've interacted with any of them and seen them play. Um, I loved watching them the first time we saw them, and so I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic show now.
oh, I think
Um,
you're going to be very impressed. They've come so far and obviously put out their debut record and not
yes,
really had the chance to tour it. They had to reschedule their headline shows about like 5 times because we were in and out
man,
of lockdowns. And yeah, if you haven't heard of Bloom or not heard of them but haven't played with Bloom, let me give you forewarning. Like you are going to be very blown away. Like those guys
good,
are they're just anyone who sees them live, like it's you can kind of like look around the crowd and you can see at least a handful of people just like
jaw drop.
just jaw on the floor.
That's amazing.
And what they've been able to achieve in such a small time as a band, and the level they've been able to get to so quickly, considering we've been in lockdown essentially for 2 years
Yeah,
in Australia. Yeah, you're going to be very blown away. And they're also just like mean lords and like the most hilarious dudes. So I think
good,
you're in for a good time outside of the shows as well.
awesome. We're fans of humor, Michael and I, and the rest of our band. But yeah, it'll be cool to see the live experience, and I'm glad to hear this feedback, because
Yeah.
that's one of the things that like I was sharing with one of the previous interviews today, is that when we go to put a show together for a tour, we don't just try to look at like, you know, who will draw the most people or who's got the most hype or who has the coolest music videos or the most Spotify plays. All of that comes second to, do we think that the music put together with our own will make for an interesting and exciting experience
Yes,
to
that's a beautiful way.
curate the entire show, so that, you know, people aren't just talking about us at the end of the night, but that we had some awesome bands playing with us that really set the tone for our show. I mean, that's what an opener is meant to do, right? Get
Yep,
everyone going, so that we can, you know, set the pins up so we can knock them down type thing.
yep. Oh, it's
Yeah,
gonna be, every night is gonna be absolutely huge.
amazing.
I'm very much looking forward to it.
Oh, well, thank you, Lita.
All right, guys, everyone listening, if this didn't get you hyped up enough for these shows, I really don't know what else we can do. Like, it's selling really, really well. I think some of the shows are sort of verging on selling out, so you can pick up a ticket, sorry, to the Dear God album tour right now via Destroy All Lines. Don't miss your local show when Being as an Ocean return to Australia this August. Thank you so much, Joel. This has been an absolute pleasure, and I'll see you in August.
Thank you, Lily. It's been a pleasure talking. We'll
Thank you
see you
so
then.
much. Awesome.